Hello. In previous session, we learned the differences between UN Peacekeeping Operation, UN PKO, and the Multinational Force Peace Operation, MNFPO. In this session, we are going to look at Korea's peace contribution in a form of PKO. Lieutenant Commander Song Kyung-yoon at Lebanon Peacekeeping Corps explains Blue Line, a military border between Lebanon and Israel. The two countries were part of the Ottoman Empire until World War I. But after the war, Franks ruled the current Lebanon, and Britain ruled the current Israel. And the border between the two countries was established for the first time. Later on, the Israeli army invaded Lebanon twice, once in 1978 and again in 1982. It was to oust the Palestine Liberation Organizations, called PLO, from the land of Lebanon. The Blue Line is a line of Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon, demarcated by the United Nations in 2000. It is the 79-kilometer-long border that separates Israel from the south of Lebanon. The border runs from the Mediterranean coast at the western end to the Golan Heights at an average altitude of 2,000 meters above sea level at the eastern end. Song Kyung-yoon explains that the border between Lebanon and Israel is topographically similar to the military demarcation line on the Korean peninsula. But above all, they are similar because military standoff and armed conflicts have continued from the mid-20th century to the present in both borders. The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, which has led to armed conflicts against Israel in southern Lebanon since the PLO, led to the war in 2006. About 1,000 civilians were killed in the region. Responding to the tragedy, the United Nations adopted UN Security Council Resolution 1701 in 2006. The United Nations requested participation from member states and increased United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, from 3,000 to 15,000. Currently, along the Blue Line, 2 brigades of the Lebanese army are confronting 2 divisions of the Israeli army. And about 1,000 UN peacekeeping forces are on both sides, contributing to conflict prevention. UNIFIL, which was established during Israel's first invasion of Lebanon in 1978, has confirmed the withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon and has supported the Lebanese government's restoration of governance. The Korean government established the Dongmyeong Unit with 350 personnel in 2007, following a resolution by the States Council in November 2006, and the consent of the National Assembly of Korea in December of the same year. The deployment of the Dongmyeong Unit is the 5th PKO mission in the history of the Korean military and the 2nd deployment of Hanbit Unit following the K학술확산센터입니다 Unit. The Dongmyeong Unit has been setting a record for the longest overseas deployment of Korea Armed Forces from 2007 to the present. The unit name Dongmyeong means bright light from the east, symbolizing Dongmyeong Unit is a unit that came from far east for the peace of Lebanon. The main mission of Dongmyeong Unit is to monitor the inflow of illegal weapons and armed forces behind the UNIFIL operation areas. So it is located approximately 10 kilometers north of the Blue Line. All operational missions to date, including joint food reconnaissance and joint temporary checkpoint operations, have been performed without a single incident. In particular, through a multifunctional civil-military operation called Peacebuilding, Dongmyeong Unit is promoting humanitarian support activities such as medical support for civilians, road paving, and school and government facility improvement projects. In addition, Dongmyeong Unit is strengthening ties with local residents by opening taekwondo, computer, and sewing classes. In fact, the humanitarian support project is the largest part of the civil military operation of Dongmyeong Unit. The projects are divided into 3: medical support, the resident aspiration project, and a support for the vulnerable. Among these, the medical team provides medical service to 5 villages in the region once a week. To date, the treatment performance has been over 80,000 patients and over 6,000 livestock. As there is an absolute shortage of local veterinarians, the veterinary service is quite popular, although Dongmyeong Unit is providing a relatively simple medical activity. The Resident Aspiration Project is a project that improves the living conditions of residents based on the requests of local government offices and residents. A number of projects building social infrastructure have been carried out, including road paving, sewage construction, and transportation facility maintenance, and the provision of materials such as cleaning, vehicles, and generators. Now let me introduce a second case of Korea's contribution to peace in Sudan. The northern region of Sudan is historically close to Egypt, and the majority of people were Arabs who believe in Islam. On the other hand, the southern region was a mixture of various tribes believing in Christianity and indigenous beliefs. Under the joint ruling system between Britain and Egypt, Britain divided Sudan into South and North and pursued different policies, resulting in greater heterogeneity between South and North Sudan. After independence in 1956, the Northern Arab community monopolized key positions in the central government, leading to the economic downturn and marginalization of the southern region. As a result, a serious social and economic gap arose between South and North. Southern part of Sudan was dissatisfied with the northern government's continuous oppression and the Islamization drive throughout Sudan. People in the southern Sudan has fought 2 civil wars for about 40 years, and more than 2.5 million people died. South Sudan officially seceded from Northern Sudan in 2011 after Africa's longest and bloodiest civil war. The newly independent South Sudan occupied most of the valuable oil fields from nearby regions. However, there were still unresolved issues such as distribution of crude oil revenue and border demarcation. Because of that, after independence, South Sudan quickly descended into a large-scale civil war. In July 2011, the United Nations established the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, in accordance with Security Council Resolution 1996. The mission was to support peacebuilding in South Sudan and assist this new state. In July 2011, the UN formally requested the Korean government to dispatch troops to South Sudan. And in September 2012, the agreement to dispatch South Korean military unit to the United Nations mission to South Sudan was passed at the plenary session of the National Assembly in Korea. So the government established the Hanbit Unit. Hanbit means a bright light that leads the world. Hanbit Unit aims to become a great light of hope for the people in South Sudan through reconstruction support and humanitarian activities in this newly independent country. Hanbit Unit consists of an engineer unit, which is in charge of medical, transportation, communication, and security unit with a special forces. The main mission is to stabilize operations, including reconstruction support and medical support in South Sudan. For the reconstruction support activities, the Hanbit Unit constructed the UNMISS Bull Base Station and carried out embankment construction on a wide Nile River to prevent flood damage, which occurs every rainy season. Reconstruction projects also include the repair and expansion of the Bull Airport runway and the construction of a heliport, a construction of a new refugee shelter site, the opening of the Juba-Borgon Road, and the construction of a landfill in the Bull area. For social support projects, Hanbit Unit provide medical treatment support, quarantine activities during the pandemic, and school support. In addition, in order to create conditions for local residents to become economically self-reliant, Hanbit Unit assisted offering 6 curricula, including electricity, architecture, woodworking, welding, agriculture, and baking. In this session, we had a look at 2 PKO activities, one Dongmyeong in Lebanon and Hanbit in South Sudan. I am pretty sure that you now have noticed that PKO's activities is not just about preventing conflict in a military manner. Those PKO activities also include lots of social development programs. Thank you.